Hi everyone, welcome back to the GEO Show. We are on episode 4, and I'm recording this on Monday, August 24th. And I've got a bunch of new headlines to run through today, so let's get right into it. The first is that ChatGPT is doing dramatically more research for software queries. So a company called Nective tested 4,000 prompts, and they found that average ChatGPT fan-out queries rose from 2.17 to 7.61, and software averaged even more, 10.7 searches per prompt. And the site appeared 64% of its sampled fan-outs. So, what is this telling us? Well, B2B recommendations are really becoming increasingly research workflows within LLMs, not just single query retrieval. So we're seeing here query fan-outs for more complex B2B software questions and prompts on the order of about 5 times higher than average, from 2 to 10. So that's pretty remarkable. And I think that means that the surface area of that retrieval, that search retrieval process, particularly for B2B software, is much, much greater. And I think that actually creates more opportunity for B2B SaaS marketers to capture that larger surface area through things like a video repurposing or just simply scaling out long tail content. All right, next story is about Google AI overviews. Google AI Overviews traffic may be materially misclassified in GA4. It's been observed that a 9-month data set covering 51,200 tracked events and 1,661 cited snippets found that 22.4% of detected AI overview events attributed to direct rather than organic. So that is not an insignificant chunk. 22% is pretty massive. So again, this is a reminder to always not refrain from taking Google Search Console, Google Analytics data at face value, particularly now in the zero-click world that we're living in, because what we see is that even a big chunk of AI overview traffic is being misclassified as direct rather than organic. Aside from all this, you all may know that anytime someone clicks through from an app, let's say they're using the ChatGPT app, if they click through a citation, that will also show up as direct, and that will lose the ChatGPT referral string. So this makes the attribution very difficult, but we still need to press on regardless. Let's move on to the next story. Google research found that LLMs can often know facts, but still cannot retrieve those facts. So this is coming from Google's own research. Gemini 3 Pro and ChatGPT 5 encoded 95 to 90% of tested facts, but they failed to directly recall 26 to 34% of those same facts. So rare facts and reversed relationships were particularly difficult. So this is interesting because I think that one of our goals with GEO, of course, is to give facts about your brand, accurate facts about your brand, to the LLMs, and also position your pages and your claims, passages, and all of your content for optimal retrieval. Because as we know, sometimes the LLMs will produce an instant answer from pre-training data, and other times they will do a real-time search. And we need to be in both of those channels. But what is interesting about this study is that sometimes you can train LLMs on the correct facts about your brand, but if the LLMs are going to do a real-time search and what's called a RAG, a retrieval augmented generation, they could still get it wrong. So I think the goal here is still to do both. And because that RAG system does rely on search rankings, that does mean that you still need to be getting your pages indexed for SEO and be discoverable when Google does a real-time search, or when ChatGPT maybe does a real-time search. Let's move on to the next story now. Google AI Overviews can now generate interactive interfaces, not just answers. This has come to us from Search Engine Journal. Google has started rolling out generative UI features into AI overviews, including custom layouts, simulations, and interactive tools. So these are things like interactive charts and graphs, calculators. This is already global in English in AI mode, with broader AI overview availability expected over the coming weeks, as per Search Engine Journal. So what does this mean? Well, a lot of us are building these interactive tools and interactive widgets and elements into landing pages and into lead capture, particularly lead capture assets. So these are things like calculators, comparison tools, other interactive widgets that are often now one of the things that gate an MQL acquisition. So in order to see the results, let's say, of some sort of a calculator, you need to provide your name and email address. So a lot of these conversion optimized landing pages driven by these interactive tools are now really becoming or facing threat from this zero click threat, because Google's own AI mode and AI overviews can reproduce those same tools and widgets right inside of its answer. So that means that we're all going to collectively have to take our landing page game up another notch and think of other ways to try to capture a lead when Google can reproduce that same interactive content inside of its own answer. All right, next story is about ChatGPT, and this is pretty big news because now ChatGPT Ads are set to arrive in Europe on August 24th, which is today. So OpenAI is expanding into 31 European markets, initially through its ad solutions team, agencies, and technology partners. Self-service access will follow later. So OpenAI says that the platform now supports conversion optimization, GEO targeting. That is GEO targeting, not GEO in the sense of the GEO show, but GEO targeting, custom audiences, pixel, and conversion API measurement. So that is the full boat of features from ChatGPT Ads. So this is really exciting news for any of us who, like myself, are based in the EU and have been anxiously awaiting the rollout of OpenAI's ChatGPT Ads for European targeting. Our agency, Hop AI, have been using ChatGPT Ads and running them for clients for probably the last couple of months, and that targeting has been limited so far primarily to the US market, but we are really eager to unlock that for Europe. And starting from today, it has arrived. Great news. All right, the number 6 story is probably the biggest one on the docket today, and it's one that has been circulating very heavily over the last few days. Reddit's share of ChatGPT citations has reportedly collapsed 86% just in the last several days. According to PromptWatch, Reddit fell from a 3.83 average citation share to 0.52% between August 14th and August 17th across millions of monitored AI responses. And the company, Reddit, says that the cause is unknown and has not ruled out a collection issue. So the interpretation here is that this is still very, very early in the GEO game, and a lot of optimizers have been really focusing their offsite efforts on Reddit threads and Reddit optimization. And what we're seeing, at least for the time being, is that Reddit as a citation source has effectively collapsed and shrunk dramatically. And I don't think any of us saw this coming. And I think the key takeaway here is the importance of diversifying your citation building, your offsite citation building efforts, not focusing only on Reddit or even only on UGC forums, but focusing on other things like the blogs, editorial sites, review sites. If you have a product or a software, review sites are really important, and other types of PR outreach where you can get featured around the web in trustworthy places. Not to mention also content repurposing, starting with video, because as we've seen, YouTube is still a major citation source. In fact, it's the #1 citation source throughout Google's AI properties, and that hasn't changed. So everyone is buzzing about the Reddit citation share collapse, and we'll keep an eye on this to see if it starts to recover or if it stays as low as it has been over the last 10 days or so. On to the next story, which is about Profound. Profound has made YouTube citations measurable at the creator level. They've confirmed that their new YouTube citation breakdown identifies cited channels, individual videos, and video categories, including each channel's share of YouTube citations. All right, this kind of follows on what we had just talked about with the collapse of Reddit and the stability of YouTube as a citation source. I think that this is very, very important now to start measuring activity in YouTube for share of voice metrics in the same way that you measure a website, because this is owned media. Your owned media consists of your website, but it also consists of all of your social media channels. So if your YouTube channel or YouTube video within your YouTube channel shows up as a citation and people watch that video, then that arguably has just as much of a positive impact on your brand favorability than if someone had seen a link to your website and clicked through and read a blog post. They're effectively still consuming your brand's content. So I think this is a really important and a really good move by Profound to bring in YouTube citation measurement in at the creator level. And it seems that they're doing this not only for the brand channels themselves, but also at the category level and at the creator level. So they are clearly putting a big emphasis on YouTube, and I do think this is a strong signal for everyone looking to up their GEO game. I think that video, particularly YouTube, is one of the most important tactics within that strategy. All right, the next story is also coming from Profound, and that is an AI factual errors are often coming from stable brand and earned media content. So let's unpack this. Profound has analyzed 158,000 plus evaluated AI claims and found that engine-level inaccuracy rates of 4.3 to 6.8% persist. And that is not an insignificant number. Pricing and billing inaccuracies represent 24% of those inaccurate claims, despite being just 12% of the evaluated claims. 51% of brands had at least one inaccurate claim tied to earned media, while 54% had one tied to their own content. And this is research coming from Profound. And that is quite profound, I must say, that these inaccuracies persist. And they persist at a couple of levels. With owned media, it's showing that, 54% of the inaccuracies were tied to a brand's own content, and another 51% of those inaccuracies were tied to earned media, so that's your offsite media mentioning you. But that's, this is kind of troubling, and I think that pricing and billing, because pricing tends to maybe if in particular, a lot of companies don't have pricing pages that display prices, or if they do, sometimes they still hide the pricing and try to get you to click on the button to talk to sales. And what this does is it leads to the third party, or at least it leads to the offsite ecosystem sharing your pricing through other places. And if you have a sales team that negotiates bespoke pricing for each customer, which is pretty common, especially with, let's say, enterprise level SaaS, then you could have a lot of pricing inaccuracies showing up. So I think that I typically have always believed that it's a good idea, in particular if you're doing any kind of PLG motion with self-serve, to always have very clear and transparent pricing on your website and to keep that up to date. In fact, even now to have it displayed on the homepage itself so that it's even easier to access and to update regularly by AI bot crawlers. So stale pricing, packaging, integrations, certification, product capabilities, these things all need continuous monitoring both on your website and off your website to avoid these inaccuracies. Because a simple inaccurate claim by an LLM could actually cost you a lead. All right, now we will finish up with the last story of the day, which is that commercial intent inside of ChatGPT is rising rapidly. And I think that's good news for everyone in marketing because we're always trying to hunt down that commercial intent. So Profound, again, third time Profound is cited here as a research source. Profound classified a year-long sample of 7.5 million conversations and says that commercial intent share rose from 13.9% to 19.2% between June 2025 and June 2026. So about 5 percentage points, which is, I'd say, pretty significant, and it is still rising. This is extrapolated. This is an extrapolated estimate, and it puts weekly commercial conversions at roughly 533 million versus 243 million a year ago. So that is all good news for everyone who is already optimizing for ChatGPT as an intent channel, because commercial intent is there. We've long suspected it, and now we have some real hard evidence that it is there and it is rising. So your efforts to invest in ChatGPT as a performance channel to tap into commercial intent is likely still a very, very good idea, and I still believe it's very, very early. All right, that's a wrap for today. Thank you for joining us for episode 4, and we'll see you next time.